What is hue, saturation, and lightness? Hue is what color, saturation is how much color, and lightness is brightness of color. Now, let's bring up the hue and saturation. Let's go to adjustment layer and click on hue and saturation. Now, this is the best way of having the hue and saturation because we have a separated layer. There's another way. You can go, let's select this one. Let's go to image, adjustment, and hue and saturation. The problem with this method is any change that we do to this image is going to be affected and we cannot change it later. So I'm going to cancel this. So now we have a separated layer. What I said is hue is what color. Let me show you here. Let's be here. This is hue, this is saturation, and this is lightness. Now I'm just going to double click here and I'm just going to bring this down so you guys can see exactly what I mean. Look, just take a look at this rectangle part. We have a hue, saturation, and brightness. If I drag this up and let me just put this here and just take a look at this color and it's changing. I'm dragging up this slider and see the color is gradually going up, and see if I stay here, each color has an exact number. This hue is 227. If I come down, the number is changing. So the hue is changing, the color is changing. So each color has a number. So hue is what is the color, and the color has a number. The saturation is how much color. Now take a look at here. The blue is gradually adding to our image and the top one is high saturated. And how much color is saturation? What is brightness? Take a look. From black we are adding light to the blue and we have this totally white and bright color of blue. So hue, I can change it. Saturation, how much color, and brightness, how bright is the color should be. And when I'm in hue, the cool thing is I can change the saturation. If I go left, the saturation is 0. Just take a look at here. And if I'm going to right, the saturation 100%. And for the brightness, I'm going up and down. If I go up, the brightness 100%. If I go down, the brightness is 0. And if I come right, the saturation 100%. Left 0, right 100%. Just take a look at here. It's like a game. Now the saturation. In saturation, if I go left to right, I can change the hue. If I go up and down, I can change the brightness. If I come to brightness and left to right, let me change the brightness of the color. Left to right is changing the hue, the saturation, up and down. But most of the time we are here, so we play just with the hue. We always on the hue. So I'm changing the color. I choose my color. Now I can tell it to be this kind of saturated and the brightness up and down. Maybe I'm looking for this color. So this is how we find the color. Now let me press OK because I don't need it anymore. Now let me explain this property, the hue and saturation property. Let me go to new image. Now let's go to adjustment layer and bring up the hue and saturation. And this panel is going to be up here, hue, saturation, and lightness. With the saturation, I can change it. I can drag it to the right and see the problem with increasing the saturation is going to increase every single pixel in our image. That's the problem. And I can reset it with this little icon here. So I don't want to increase it that much. Maybe a bit like this. Most of the time, why we use hue and saturation? Because we want to change a color. That's why we use it. So let me show you how. There's a little hand here. If I click on this little hand, maybe we want to change this red pepper, right? Let me click on it. If you click on it, it's just going to be red. By default was master. But when I clicked on it and just picked a color, let me go back again. Let me just pick this little hand, and I'm just gonna click here, and it's just gonna be red. It's just gonna be recognized by the program. And just take a look at this bar. The top bar is showing me you selected the red, and the bottom line is just gonna be what color you want to change it to. So let me change. See, the color here is changing to yellow, and to maybe purple is nice. Look, the bottom is purple, or let me show maybe blue. It's going to be nicer. But the problem is affecting everywhere. There's a lot of where that is affecting. Look, there is a handle here. There is two handles. With these two little handles, I can control which parts. So let me show you again. Let me reset it. We just want to selecting this little color. So maybe it's just going to be affected here and also here. How we can select it? Reset. Let's go to this little hand, and let me just click on this red color. Now drag the hue to the right, drag the saturation to the right. Now just take a look at these parts. I'm just gonna move around until this is going to be selected. Only this is going to be selected. So I'm just gonna go around, maybe here. Now I can play around with these little things and connect it to it, closer and closer, maybe this. So this is going to be only selected, look. And with this little inside, I can increase it gradually. It's not going to be that sharp. It's like a feather. I can increase it with this little feather. Let's go back. Still these parts. Yeah. And this is cool. Still, we can work on it. Let me just bring back the saturation to 0. And now we can play around with the hue. And easily, the red color is changing to purple or to any color. So just we have a problem here in this part, right? Now, you can increase these little things. You can play around with this until you get something cool. So it's not this one, is this part. Let me just play around with it. So I'm playing it gradually to adding this part. Look, actually it's very easy. I mean, it's gonna be like this. Now I'm changing it. I'm changing the color. If you see the color is affecting somewhere because of the light reflection, you can just, because we have a mask here, and press D on your keyboard, so this is going to be default. If you press D, or you make this black and this is white, press B on your keyboard for brush tool, and this is white. Now you can mask it out. You can mask these areas as well to be more clean, the area that is affected. And let's go back here and just take a look. And what was this one? Because I used mask, let me just disable the mask. This is a cool part here. When you're going out and you're going back on this, the master is going to be selected. If, let me just press Command and Control Z 2-3 times. If you want to go back to the setting that you have changed, you have to select this and you have to go to red. Now the default is changing, and you can change this as well. So that was the trick. If I go back here and again click on hue and saturation, so this is a very cool tip, guys, and nobody knows actually, and nobody knows how to handle. If I go and select another layer and I'm coming back to my hue and saturation, by default is master is selected, so you shouldn't change anything. Click on the master and go to red channel, because we changed the red channel and it's going to be remembered our setting. Now I can change anything. Cool. So that was the tip. What else we can learn here? Never ever, I'm just gonna reset it. Never ever play around with, oh, let me not reset it for now. Let me go back to red. I'm not gonna reset it because we had this little selection. I'm just gonna show something. Okay, never play with lightness in master. So in master, you shouldn't change anything. So everything should be messy here. So always the lightness in master mode should be on 0. If I go to red channel or any other channels, now I can play with lightness. Just take a look. I can make this darker, or I can make it totally white. And how cool is that? This is how we create a snow in our image. This is how we create a lot of snowy stuff in artworks and a lot of programs, you know, like matte painting and other stuff. So the lightness should be on a channel, and sometimes it's cool to have this kind of color. And I can increase a bit of saturation, maybe even less. You can play around with the color and just take a look at it. How beautiful is that? So that's why the lightness inside the master is very powerful, and we use it a lot for changing a lot of stuff to different colors. Now you have these files. We use hue and saturation a lot. Make sure you get really good at it, and then go to the next lesson.